Hi, Todd. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, Jay. How
How
you
you
doing?
doing? I'm great. How are you?
Very, very good. You got me in work mode. I'm not really in rocker mode as far as the look goes, but you know,
That's quite all right. I'm glad to talk to you always.
yeah,
Congratulations on your solo album about to come out. Can't wait to talk about it.
thank
And
you.
yeah, are you back in Michigan right now?
I sure am. Yeah, yeah. I really haven't done much of any traveling. I finished up traveling, for The Voice in January of 2020. I was supposed to go back there in April, but that didn't happen. We ended up just doing stuff from our homes. and then uh, and then I didn't actually travel again until I flew out to LA to film the videos for this album. And that was like at the end of December, and that was
Wow.
part of what took so long to get the album out. Is it was hard to put together the promo material for it. And then finally, I don't know, I wanted to have a really nice video, and I wanted one where it wasn't just me prancing around, because I actually filmed one of just me prancing around in an old warehouse, um, for Let Loose Tonight, and we ended up not using, because I just said, man, I just want it, and the videographer in California was going to put stuff with it, and we ended up, it ended up taking so long, as there was fires in California and he couldn't get to it. The video guy was Jamie Brown. He's from the band Roxanne, the singer from the band Roxanne. I don't know if you're familiar with them. And but in any event, it ended up taking so long that finally I reached a point where I was going to have 2 weeks off at the end of the year for work. And I just said, you know what? Because I'd been kind of avoiding it, because I didn't want to travel and have to deal with the quarantining and all that kind of stuff. And finally just reached a point. Actually, I didn't have any issues anyway. I flew out there. That was a weird thing. They were like, California's all shut down. I mean, I got out there, there's people running all over the place. I mean, that didn't seem very shut. I mean, yeah, you couldn't eat in a restaurant, but I mean, other than
Yeah.
that, everybody was going crazy, and
Yeah.
me. So
Well, I want to let everybody know that I have the pleasure of going into the pit here for Alamo True Metal with Riot 5 singer Todd Michael Hall. If you couldn't tell by the photos in the background, the frame pictures, I love that stuff there. And
thanks.
um, and Todd has an incredible classic rock sounding album. So I believe your first major label solo album called Sonic Healing, coming out 2 weeks from tomorrow, May 7th on Rat Pack Records. I've been giving it a whirl several times over since I received it. Great stuff. So Todd, this album, we're gonna get into Riot and all other stuff as well, but to start off with Sonic Healing, this to me is notable for a couple of reasons. A, like I mentioned, it's your first, I believe, like major label solo release. B, of course, you teamed up with Metal Church guitarist Kurt Vanderhoof. I know Metal Church is on Rat Pack too, but other than that, that would have been a teaming or meeting of the minds that nobody really would have predicted. And three, like I mentioned, it is in the classic rock mode of REO Speedwagon, Loverboy, Styx, Foreigner, of course, and of course you got a great tie to Foreigner, which we'll get into from The Voice. But I will include the making of trailer with this video interview in the article portion. But for those who haven't seen the trailer, what can you say about the making of the record, teaming with Kurt, how it all came about?
It really came down to, and I do kind of, in a way, consider it my first solo album. Anything I've done previously was kind of independent. It was real pop stuff, and I kind of did it for charity more than anything. But whatever. I had kind of, a lot of sides to me. But I think this was the first one where I was kind of serious about trying to do something in the rock and, end of things. And really what happened is I knew Joe, from Rat Pack Records, because Riot almost released their last album on Rat Pack, but then it didn't end up happening. Joe and I were still on friendly terms since then. And we had talked before about doing a solo album, and he kind of had an idea of heavy metal in mind, because that's what he was thinking and people know me for. And I told him at the time, I said, I'd really rather do something more old school rock. And then nothing really became of it. And then like a couple years later or whatever, this Voice stuff happened. And after I was on The Voice, and I did the Foreigner song, there was kind of a lot of attention and buzz on it. And that's when I called Joe and said, I'm telling you, I really want to do something in this. I said, I have a bunch of my own songs. Can you hook me up with someone who can just turn my songs into hard rock? Because I don't play electric guitar really. I know that sounds silly, but there's certain techniques. That's been my New Year's resolution. I've been playing every day since the end of December, but I'm never going to be good like the people that are around me are good,
Yeah.
in all the bands that I'm in. But even, so he said, well, I know I got this guy, Kurt loves that kind of music, and let me hook you up with him. And so Kurt and I had kind of a meeting of the minds and a Zoom, you know, we just really had a lot in common. We really bonded over quite a few things. And one of it was kind of our love for classic rock. I consider what we wrote to be kind of more like classic rock, but you can't really call it classic rock because classic rock means it's huge and it's classic. And well, that's just obviously not huge. And, so I kind of call it old school rock or classic rock inspired. And Kurt was really into it too. I mean, basically the notion was we just wanted like memorable guitar riffs and great vocal hooks and really try to kind of what I would call get back to that notion of when I was young, where rock music was just all about energy and making you feel good, and everybody, you know, it was all over the radio, that sort of thing. I think that's what I was hoping to achieve. You know, kind of music. I joke about it because in Riot we talk about Riot being two types of music. There's left and right, and there's up and down. Right? You know, the old school stuff is more like you know, and then you got you know.
Yeah.
So and I still think actually my album, you know, I think it leans a little more toward what I would call the old school Riot, but even not that, because the old school Riot, Mark had a unique way of kind of making it really fast. And that's why people think it's heavy metal almost, that like Fire Down Under and that, when it's really not probably heavy metal, I guess, but kind of heavy metal.
Yeah.
Who knows? You know, you split hairs at some point, right?
Yeah.
So that was kind of the genesis. So I went to Kurt with a bunch of songs, and then he listened to like 27 or 20 some songs that I sent him, and they said, "Hey, you got some great stuff there, but let me tell you, the way I work, I like to just get in the mode and then kind of see what pours out of me." And so literally over the course of 21 days, he chunked out he sent me 18 really nice polished demos of songs, and I wrote lyrics for like 15 or 16 of them in pretty much that same time period, maybe another week. And it was just an amazing time. And we're just going back and forth. He'd call me, I just loaded another one in the Dropbox. And I'd be like, oh yeah, I just put one in the Dropbox, you know, like for him to hear the vocals that I put on it. And man, it was just magical. It's really hard to describe. And it's really amazing when something like that happens. So, that was really, so we ended up not using any of the ideas that I had before. It was all brand new stuff written just for this project.
Well, of course, again, I will include also the first video single, Overdrive, with this article. Great video. You mentioned it was filmed in LA. What part of LA was it filmed in? And can you tell me about your bassist and drummer in the video as well?
Yeah. Well, for me, you know, LA is like, it's kind of like when you mentioned Detroit, you know, it's kind of a big, huge area. I mean, it really wasn't LA, it was Santa Clarita, but I mean, you know, a few minute drive out of LA. So basically the videographer was based out of that area. And so he's the one who found kind of the plot of land, and the person that owned the land that we rented also had the car for the video. So it just made it kind of perfect. And so that's why we did it there. And so really we didn't have a band. And so the videographer, Jamie, he had contacts with some people. So the bass player in the video is actually a singer. His name is Drew Hart. He's out of Vegas. Really nice guy. Turns out he's from Michigan, and we had just a whole lot in common as far as our influences growing up and stuff. It was hilarious. So he and I just are like fast friends now. He has a guitar background. I don't want to say he faked it on the bass for the video, but he kind of just faked it on the bass for the video. And then the drummer in that video is a guy named Abel, and he is once again a guy that Jamie knew. And actually, there's a little funny but whatever backstory that you'll see in the second video. There's a different drummer because we shot that the first day, and after that day, he wasn't feeling well. And so we called Abel like at the last minute, like 7 p.m. the night before, and said, look, can you learn this song and show up and play this thing tomorrow morning, you know, early afternoon or whatever it was. And he did, and man, did he do a good job. He learned the song so well. And I mean, it felt like we were really jamming. So it got Kurt and I both excited about, you know, trying to maybe play some shows, but it just really comes down to whether there's any demand, you know, for people to see it.
So then do you have various guest bassists and drummers on the album, or did you find two guys to play this album?
Actually, Kurt, you know, because of COVID and everything, because we recorded it in like March and April during the height of all the shutdowns and all that stuff. So yeah, Kurt actually played the bass on the album and did the drums and everything too. So yeah.
Cool. So I also wanted to mention a couple of standout songs for me because I've been listening to it for about a week, the whole thing. And like you mentioned, Let Loose Tonight is a great party anthem. And it looked like in the trailer, like you had the makings of a video on there. And I was like, where's the rest of the video? But that song is great. And I don't know, I keep going back and forth between Overdrive, Let Loose Tonight, and You Love Me Like It's a little too early in the morning for me to do that. It took a lot for me to do that. It probably, of course, it doesn't sound as good as you.
It sounded good. It sounded good.
But
Actually,
yeah,
what really cracks me up, and I hope this doesn't sound braggadocious because I don't mean it that way, but it was really tough to decide what to use for like a single because I designed like I said, I hope this doesn't sound too bad, but I tried to design a lot of choruses to be real hooky. And the thing is, you think about a lot of things. Okay, I want a song that brings the energy right away, or I want this and I want that. And so it was really tough to decide. Like No Other is actually one of my favorites too. And I was like, man, I for some reason, I really love this song. And that's one that Kurt showed me how to play on guitar, and I just love jamming it too. And so, yeah, that's one I love also. And I actually made a little video for that I'm going to release later on, after the album's released. And I call it a sing through. And basically it's just me up on the microphone and I record a live version of it, like right on the spot.
nice.
And then I had Kurt mix my live vocal in with the recording. So, which ends up sounding pretty much like the original, just because I don't know, I'm pretty consistent. Like I don't vary up my melodies, when I sing them. And but yeah, I love that song. I actually struggle with I even like oh my God, Running After You. I think that's just, I love the to me the chorus on that is just total money. Its problem is it takes about 2 minutes to get there, and it's a little ballady, and we thought, I think the one thing that Kurt and I totally agreed on, and I guess Joe agreed too from the record label, is that we thought that Overdrive was just a great album opener. You know what I mean? Like the first song on the album, just because the energy and stuff, it just really pulls you in. And so actually, we originally thought that Let Loose Tonight would be the first video we would release. That was the thinking, because we felt like it really screams old school rock. And so thus it really tells you the tale of the album, even though not every song sounds like that one. It just, but in the end, we ended up going with Overdrive just because of the energy. I think we thought we wanted to come out of the hole with a lot of energy, and that's what that one had.
And fans, when they get the album Unlike No Other, they should recognize that the opening little guitar there from Kurt is very Metal Church Badlands influence, because the Badlands riff is da na 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 na, and Like No Other, it's da na na, but it's got that same tone. So
yeah, it's hard not to rip yourself off and other people's stuff. Every now and then. I think we had one song that wasn't. It's not on the album, but we had one song where he got done. And he's like, "Man, that sounds too much like the Zoo from the Scorpions." So he's like, "I got to change that." So it's easy enough to do. You just get jamming, and what sounds cool, and there's only so many notes and chords. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, but that was that song's a lot of fun. Lot of fun, that song.
Well, I received the version that has just the 10 original songs on it. I haven't heard any of the bonus tracks, but I see that you have various bundles of the album for fans, including one that if fans get it, they can get a thank you call back from you.
Yes.
And also, I was intrigued by, apparently there's a bonus CD with 7 songs. Are those live or cover versions, or what is that CD?
Yeah, there is. So the CD, I think pretty much all of them, the cassette, the album, everything, they will have the bonus songs, just that you couldn't fit them on the cassette and the vinyl. So you'll get those as digital downloads. And I hope I have that right. I'm pretty sure I do. But the actual CD will have 2 bonus songs on it, and one is like a song that was dedicated, I wrote for my brother,
right,
called The Other Side, and it was featured in the making of video. And then the bonus one, what happened is we actually recorded 15 songs all together, and I'm a little more of the I'd rather leave you wanting more than just put too many songs on. And so there were 3 more songs that we wrote originals and recorded that we didn't put on anything. They're not bonus on the CD or nothing. And then there was actually 4 cover tunes, because originally coming out of the gate, we were like, well, after the voice, let's get something out there. And then, so we recorded 4 cover tunes. And man, Kurt and I there's different ways to think about cover tunes. Kurt and I are both of the philosophy, try to make it sound as much like the original as possible. I don't know why, that's just the way I am. And while we did like a Triumph, Fight the Good Fight, I mean, I hope this doesn't sound like I'm bragging, but God, does it sound good? It came out so good, I mean, Kurt did such an incredible job, and I studied the vocals, but we did that. We did Head Games by Foreigner. We did Let It Go by Def Leppard. And we did Oh, sorry. There's one more and it's escaping me right this second. So yeah, so that was a lot of fun. I think what ultimately I ended up deciding is I really struggle with that because I like covers, but the problem is what I find with the social media is when I put out covers, then I get a lot of requests for covers, and then I don't want to be the cover tune guy. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Because I really want I mean, that's cool and I love doing them, but I'd rather push my own music because I only have so
Right.
much time for music, and I don't want to be stuck and pigeonholed doing covers all the time.
And when I interviewed Kurt about a year ago, they had just come out with a CD called From the Vault that had some other demo versions and live stuff and covers, and they had a few covers on there. And I told them I liked them, but I was like, I gotta admit to you, Kurt, it's gonna take me a while to get used to Mike Howe going, whoa, Black Betty, round and round. They did that song.
Yeah, well, I think what we did. Oh, the other cover was Ted Nugent.
Okay.
Oh God, and I'm forgetting the name of the song, but just what the doctor ordered. Sorry.
Okay.
And what we did is we picked cover songs that were really in the vein of where we were trying to go musically anyway. So I think you're going to hear them, and they would fit very well on the album.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was a lot of fun though. So
Awesome.
so right now they're just on a bonus disc. I actually filmed kind of just easy little videos for 3 of the cover tunes
Oh, wow.
that I was gonna maybe release, after the album's out and
Sure.
everything. And so we'll
You're
see. We'll see.
definitely
It's
plan
hard.
ahead. Yeah.
I really struggle with social media because I'm not. I don't tend to be an oversharer. You know what I mean? Like I'm not a selfie guy, and the notion of posting photos of myself every day is foreign to me. And telling people what I'm eating or whatever, you know what I mean? And God bless other people. I'm just saying
Yes.
for me, that's weird. And I don't
Yeah.
know if it's because I'm old or private or what I am. So I struggle with the social media stuff and
Yeah.
how much do you share and how much don't you?
Right. Todd, you mentioned the 2 regular bonus tracks that are on the version, and I was going to ask you about the other side, written for your late brother who passed, I believe, last year, John.
Yeah.
Because I haven't heard the whole song, I just saw the snippet in the making of the trailer. But you guys were, I love the footage of the early stuff of you and him together in a band called Harlot. Once people hear that song in its entirety and they listen to it and lyrics and all that, what would you want people to know about your brother and your relationship with him and just the kind of person he was in the song in general?
It's weird because I struggled a little bit with that song because first of all, I wanted the whole album to just have a positive vibe. And I realize, people like moody music, I do too, and stuff like that. But for me, for this album and this project, I wanted to have a really positive vibe. And really, the music for that song is actually quite positive, even though the topic itself is sensitive and it puts a lump in my throat, actually, even now, just talking about it. So, so I struggle with a little bit like, is it, does it sound too happy, but the reality is, I love my brother a lot, and his influence on me and bringing me into music and all that stuff was so immense that, I remember, he died, a couple weeks after I was on The Voice. And I remember we had like a viewing party, and he was already kind of sick. So, and he was generally a little more quiet anyway. And he was sitting in the chair, and I remember sorry. But I remember giving him a hug, after it was on. He wasn't a big hugger either, so I need a different topic.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just thought people should know that how meaningful that song was to you. Well, you mentioned The Voice, and I wanted to get into The Voice. That was our next topic, Todd. Just a fabulous time for you. You made me want to watch that. I had never watched that show before. I heard you were going to be on it, and I was like, holy crap, Todd Michael Hall's going to be on The Voice. Let me learn about this show. So for those who don't know, Todd went on to The Voice. He auditioned, what's called a blind audition. And you sang Foreigner's Jukebox Hero, and I'm going to include that trailer as well in this article, in front of judges Kelly Clarkson, Nick Jonas, John Legend, and Blake Shelton. And you did a version that, of course, we rockers know would hit it out of the park, but you were singing to 4 famous musicians who had no idea who you were and had no idea what you sounded like. First of all, just tell me how that came about, how you decided to audition for it. Tell the people out there the launching pad that has proved for you. And basically, since music has been dormant, live music has been dormant pretty much since then, it still has basically launched Sonic Healing, right? And changed your life in ways that you wouldn't have had otherwise, correct?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I've watched shows, American Idol stuff over the years, and I've been, you always had that feeling, well, I could do that. I wonder what that would be like. And I think ultimately it just came down to, I've been writing a lot of my own solo music, and I just thought there was really two things. One, I wonder if I could get on. Two, I wonder if they would turn a chair. Three, maybe it would raise my profile and make people listen to my solo music. And I certainly thought, I know I was in Riot, and I feel like I'm kind of one of those guys, like I was telling the guys in the band, our boats are more together. So if anything, if I get more attention, that just means Riot gets more attention. So I feel like it's good for the band too. And overall, I mean, God, I was just, I never really thought I would win. My goal was to just get on the show, and but the people on the show were just so great. Everybody was so nice, and I don't know, they prepared, well, and I went to original open call audition in Chicago, and I sang that song a cappella, and they picked me for a next day comeback where you actually performed a track. So I did that song again, along with Judas Priest, Another Thing Coming, and a Journey song, whatever the famous one is.
Don't Stop Believing.
Yeah, Don't Stop Believing.
All right.
And I did a video interview after that, because I kind of made it through that stage, and they're like, well, we'll call you back. And then there was a call back in August. And then from there, it was like, okay, we're going to give you a blind audition. So I came back for the blind audition, and there was a bunch of people there, but you're not for sure going to get a blind audition. But, and that song just kept coming, and that was the one I got for the blind audition. And some people got a different song, like they didn't get to pick it, but that was the song. And honestly, I really wanted that song because I just love those head voice notes at the end. You jump box hero, I just get the scream, and I'm just like, man, I just want to do that on national TV. You know what I mean? And I got on, and from there it was like, okay, now what do you do? And it gets trickier after that, because then the song selection, like the second song, Blake apparently picked it. Although I asked him why he picked it, and he didn't seem like he had a real good answer. So I don't know who picked what. And then the third song is like, I'm involved with the process of picking it, but it's like, that was a tough one. I didn't really want to pick a newer song, but I kind of got corralled into that a little bit. And I didn't like that. So I would have rather gone out on a rockin' song, but whatever. It was still a lot of fun. It's interesting because there is an intense spotlight on you. And so you think, man, I got 4.4 million views on a video, and people saying they love it and all that stuff. But it's hard to translate that because the American public is a little fickle. You know what I mean? So like, the pop culture is fickle. I'm not trying to say anything about America as being negative, but just that pop spotlight, it's here, it's gone. It's like Andy Warhol, your 15 minutes of fame. So I don't know how many of those people I dragged over to listen to Sonic Healing. Hopefully some of them, but it's tough. I definitely don't have a million views on my Overdrive video. That's for sure. So,
and it's interesting too, because in learning about the concept of the show, obviously I figured it out quickly that when you're performing in front of the 4 judges, of course, they have their back to you. So you're performing the song in front of millions. You see the audience's reaction or hear it, but you don't see that of the judges until they turn around. Yes. So, and the interesting part about the clip is that your wife and kids were there, and it was caught that your wife was saying, I think he's going to go with John Legend, and you chose Blake Shelton. So what was your reaction when you watched the video back and you saw Nick and Kelly making faces and going, oh my God, should I turn around or not? But also B, do you think choosing Blake as a major country artist may have hurt your chances overall in winning the whole thing because he wasn't much of a rocker?
I would say, first of all, the experience is a bit overwhelming because you're out on the stage and there's a band behind you, but they're behind you. And so you're kind of all alone on the stage. It's deathly quiet in there. It's a pretty, it's pretty nerve wracking. Praise God for all the shows I played with Riot recently. Yeah. So I was up on my chops and then preparing well, and they help you prepare well too. But you only get that one chance. So if you go out there and you screw it up, you screwed it up. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's do or die. And I kind of had I don't want to say a routine, but I had like this is what I'm going to do. And so I wasn't paying a lot of attention to the coaches at the time. I was really just more focused. I was blessed that there was like 500 people there, so I could play off the crowd a bit. I knew John Legend turned pretty quick. I wasn't really watching him, but yeah, after the fact, when you see, like Nick doing his, looked like he had a twitch, and John Legend getting into it and all that, it was pretty fun. They're actually like, they cut it, but during the Kelly actually was like, "Oh, I forgot to hit my button," or something
Yeah.
like that. Because I was kind of surprised that she didn't turn for me or whatever. I knew Nick was questionable and stuff. And then I don't know, I don't think it would have changed my chances because, I- you know, John's team had different types of singers, and I don't know that there was one that would have complimented me so much as a singer. I feel like I had a really good battle round with Joey. And I felt like it was a toss up of who they should pick. And Blake kind of had it in mind to try to save me anyway. The round after that was tougher. I just don't, I think the song selection, was probably not good, but I don't think I would have gone much further anyway, because Blake's team was really strong. I mean, like of the two of the four finalists were on Blake's team. And Blake had also had Joanna too. So I honestly don't think I would have gotten any further anyway. I don't think there's a strong enough rock contingent. If you look at the show, it's very dominated by pop music and even like ballady type pop music. And so I think there was, my runway was pretty short, which is fine. I got to be on national TV 3 times, or more.
Yeah.
So.
And the guys in Riot, when you told them you were going to audition, were they just all in for you, or going like, "Well, what were you thinking?"
I had to keep it secret for them for a very long time, because I signed this thing that said I'd have this big fine if I told anyone or whatever. But it finally reached the point where after where I was going to do the blind audition, then I was having to get releases from them for different things that I had to tell them and try to have them be in confidence. And they were all pretty excited. I know that like the day of the blind audition, because it was filmed on October 15th and it didn't actually air until February 24th. Yeah. And I remember telling them, "Hey, keep it quiet." But I got on Blake's team, and I remember them being really excited for me and everything. We that was the one bummer. Like they really didn't tell much about me on the show. And I think we kind of hoped they would mention a little bit about Riot, because there were videos I sent them that we thought they were going to show and stuff of Riot. And they ended up not doing that, which was a bit of a disappointment for me and the guys. But
Yeah, I believe watching all the first round contestants, because Donnie Van Staveren, for those of you watching around the world, is Riot's bassist and from San Antonio. He had told me that I believe that they had to sign waivers or they sent in pictures of Riot. And I believe watching the show myself that you were the only first round contestant where there wasn't a bio given about you. Everybody else had like a video of them at their house and warming up and rehearsing and all that.
Yeah, it was, well, actually, incidentally, when I came back from the blind audition, they called me and said, "Look, we want to come to your house, and film." Well, first of all, my wife is really shy and she absolutely didn't want to be on camera. And more specifically, she didn't want to talk on camera. But the worst part is they wanted to film the first 2 weeks in November. Well, the first 2 weeks in November, I was in Europe with Riot.
Okay.
So they didn't have any footage from my house to be able to use, because they weren't able to come see me. So that didn't help. But I don't know. I don't, maybe like telling about me. I just don't know. The producers, their job is to make America fall in love with you. And maybe there are aspects of my story that, because there was a lot of interviewing and talking about how I met my wife as a pen pal and how she's from India. There was a lot of interviewing and stories about that, but they didn't tell any of that either, which really surprised me, because I thought, well, that's something people would find.
Human interest. Yeah.
Well,
I
guess,
yeah,
I guess they ran out of time. I don't know.
Well, Todd, speaking of being Riot and being sworn to secrecy, I've told you this on a couple of occasions, but you officially joined Riot. It was officially announced in January 2014. I actually found out from Donnie 4 months earlier. We were outdoors here in town at a Seven Dust Fozzy concert. About 3,500 people, and about 3,490 of them had cleared out after the show. So me and Donnie were just kind of hanging along the fence, and I was like, "Hey, what's going on with Riot here? Are you guys continuing?" Because of course it was a year or so after Mark Reale had passed. And he said, I was kind of expecting him to say, "Yeah, we're calling it quits." But he was like, "Yeah, I think I got this guy named Todd Hall. He's really good," and blah, blah, blah. And he starts talking about you some more because he didn't use your middle name. And I finally figured I said, "Hold up, Todd Michael Hall?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "From Jack Star's Burning Star?" He goes, "Yeah." I went, "Holy crap." I was so excited because in my mind I was like, that's the only guy that could take over for Tony Moore, and here it is. And I've always been grateful to you that when it was officially announced, you were gracious enough to grant me your first interview with anyone after you joined Riot. Here it is 7 years later. How would you characterize your time in the band so far as the fifth era singer?
Obviously, bands and people always have their little struggles, but overall, I mean, being in Riot has been nothing but a blessing for me. I mean, I've traveled all over the world getting to play shows. I'm in a band that has an incredible legacy, but also still produces new music. I've been in Japan and South America and Europe where people sing my lyrics, my own
Nope.
lyrics back to me. I've been, allowed to contribute. I've written like three lyrics for like three-quarters of the songs on the last two albums. Like I said, I mean, to me, Mike and Donnie just gave me an incredible gift by inviting me to be in the band, and I just doing my best to try to give right back.
Yeah.
So.
So last week I did one of these Zooms with David Ellison and Jeff Scott Soto simultaneously. And I don't know if you know or have seen it, but they recently did a quarantine version of Swords and Tequila.
I
So
did see.
so we started talking about that and how the significance of the song and Donnie being from here. And David Ellison pops up and he goes, "Put in a good word for us. Megadeth wants to tour with Riot."
Woo.
So I already told Donnie that. And I said, yeah, Donnie, we got to have some drinks and make on working that happen, because I sort of told David Ellison I was going to have drinks with you to work on making that happen, even though I'm not a promoter. So what's your reaction to that? I can see your reaction. Put it in words what that would be like for you.
I would say my reaction is, hey, Dave, I think it's in your camp. It's certainly not us, because the boys in Riot are not the ones that would make that decision. Being able to tour with a big band like that, this is going to sound horrible, but unless you're a really big band yourself, usually what happens is you end up having to pay to get on the tour or whatever. But we did open up for them in Slovenia. We played a festival there, and they were there. I mean, we were down on the bill a little bit, but yeah, I would absolutely love to play shows with them. I think that'd be a great pairing.
Yeah. And Todd, I know, speaking of that, I know you're a guy who pretty much does, because you're such a family man, you typically don't like to go out on long tours. Like bands like Metallica tours 3.5, 4 years on one album. I know even like 8 months at a time or so, 9 months is typically too long for you because you don't want to be away from your family too long. Would you say that this pandemic in one aspect has been maybe a blessing in disguise that has allowed you to spend time with your family extended periods that you otherwise wouldn't have, so that when things get back to normal, if Riot gets a tour like a Megadeth one for say 8 months, would you be more inclined to say, yeah, let's do it?
Really the bigger holdup for me, my family's been, and my wife have been incredibly supportive. And really the bigger holdup for me is more just work related.
Okay.
I run a manufacturing company, so trying to be gone on an 8-month tour is just not really feasible. Although there's not too many bands that do that anymore. Usually people are out for, chunks. I think for me, as long as I break it into chunks, I can do it. I'm getting a call, and it's because I'm supposed to be on another interview. So,
oh crap.
Okay. All right, I'll get off this one and call. Okay. Or are you calling me? Yeah, we're still on. Oh, can you hold just a moment? Okay. Sorry, that's Sean from the publicist trying to hook me up with the next call. So
okay.
Sorry about that.
No problem. I'll try to wrap it up really quick. I was just gonna say that you're also the fifth era singer, of course, the late Guy Speranza, the late Brett Forrester, Mike DeMeo, Tony Moore, we've had 2 stints, and then yourself. Just to put you on the spot for fun a little bit, and there's no shame in saying your own, but what's your favorite era of Riot songs to sing live?
It's really 2. I mean, basically anything from Guy or from Tony Moore. Those are my 2 favorite eras for sure. I just, I feel like my voice fit those voices really well, and the music speaks to me pretty well too.
Yeah.
So.
And finally, Todd, can you give me an update? Are you still in Jack Star's Burning Star? Is Jack still got the band going?
I am not. He still has a band going, and they have a new kid. His name's Alex, I think, and he sings in a band called Hitten over in Spain, Hitten. So he's the one that's done all the music on the newest album. So.
Oh, okay, because I still think Land of the Dead and Stand Your Ground are 2 of the best power metal albums by anybody out there. Now you have a large part to do with that. And I've been wondering. Stand Your Ground came out in 2017. I was wondering what's going on with that. All right.
Yeah, they definitely have a new album done, because I still talk to him. It's almost done. And for me, it was just more like, the thing is, I told him I wouldn't be able to play shows with them and stuff. It was just getting in. So I said, maybe find a new singer. And I told them that before Stand Your Ground, but they wanted me on that album. So I went ahead and did that album with them, even though I'd already told them before that album that, I wouldn't be able to tour with them. And so for this album, that's where they found another singer. Actually, the same guy, Bart, I think, that got me in Riot, found the singer for them. to replace
Oh,
me.
wow. Art Gabriel. Yeah. Yeah. All right, Todd. Well, I was going to ask you to dig in a little more about your wife and your pen pal relationship because that is so unique, but you already touched on it. It's great. And people can look it up and find out about that. And I was going to compliment you about a great duet you did with Marta Gabriel called Shallow. I saw that video on your website. Another side of yourself, a ballad. Tremendous
Thank
song
you.
the first time I heard it.
Well,
Outstanding.
it sounds like we have to hook up for an extended interview then later when
Yes.
I don't have another one. So
Well,
I'd
Todd,
be happy
yes.
to. I always have time for you, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much for going into the pit with me here for Alamo True Metal. I'm sorry I kept you too long. Great luck. Best of luck on Sonic Healing. It's a fantastic record. Everybody go get it May 7th via Rat Pack Records. Todd, it's always great to talk to you. Hope you can come to San Antonio again in the not too distant future. Thank you, my man.
I hope so too, Jay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right.
Everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.